Hey guys, it's Matthew from Sling Pilot Academy. We just got back from Oshkosh 2025. It was a great time, packed full of exciting things that we posted every single day, but we couldn't fit all of it in. So this week, stick around to see Josh Flowers from Aviation 101 talk a little bit about how he and Chelsea got into the Sling family, how they chose what plane they're working on, and what their plans are next. Enjoy the video.
Hello everybody, my name is Josh Flowers. I host the YouTube channel Aviation 101. I've been making YouTube videos for 15 years, which is a little hard to believe. Chelsea Smith, she's my fiance. She could not be here, regretfully, this morning. She's feeling a bit under the weather. But I'm gonna tell you, like John said, a little bit of the story of how we ended up in the Sling family. It's kind of a long road of several years trying to figure out what was our next move in our general aviation journey, and sort of sorting out our mission and how we're going to fulfill that in the coming years. A little bit about my background. I'm a flight instructor. Got my pilot certificate as early as I could, as soon as I turned 17. And I worked my way through my ratings, became a flight instructor. I have a passion for teaching, and I also have a passion for aviation in general and travel. And that's really where the birth of the YouTube channel came from. My parents owned a video business all growing up. They filmed live events. And I really grew up around video production, and my dad's a private pilot, and he's here somewhere wandering around enjoying the show. And I combined those two passions that I gained through my upbringing, and I created a YouTube channel as soon as I started learning how to fly. And over the years, it's really changed its mission, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the mission statement of the channel is we like to showcase safe practices while sharing the beauty this world has to offer through the window seat of general aviation. That's really where my passion lies. And over the last couple of years, we tried to figure out where our mission with aviation, general aviation, and filmmaking was going to take us. And that led us to this tent right here about 3 years ago, where this whole conversation kind of started. And over time, we've ended up building this dream. So I'll start by saying that this presentation will be a bit of a kind of the Spark Notes version of our build series that we have on YouTube. So we posted 5 videos so far, not including the process of deciding which airplane we were going to go with ultimately. And that's all on Aviation 101 on YouTube, and it's our 2025 Sling TSi build series. So I'm going to kind of take you through the steps of what we've done so far, how we got to the decision of the ultimate airplane that we're going to build, obviously a Sling TSi, and just some of the custom options that we're putting into the airplane and why we're choosing to do some of that stuff. So first of all, why build? Well, first of all, I love experimental. I love the idea of experimental aviation. It's truly unlocked innovation, and we can customize the airplane to truly make it what we want and what we need. But we didn't always have it in our mind that our next step was going to be build an airplane. I was shopping for a bunch of different airframes, and we had a lot of options on the table, and we considered a lot as an AMP IA, as well as a pilot, of course, and she did a few pre-buy inspections for us on a few different airplanes. We looked at Cardinals, Centurions. I'm very fond of Moonies. Mooney M20J was an airplane that I have a lot of time in. I looked at Glassairs, sacrificing the back 2 seats for more speed. Of course, we all know the famous Vans RV line. And then I started to learn more about this company called Sling and started to look at the performance numbers and how these airplanes look. They're gorgeous. And the 2 options there really for us to fit our mission were the high wing and the TSi. So we got in touch with Sling shortly thereafter. And fast forward to last summer, we started to really dive deep into some conversations with particularly Matt, John, Andrew, and James here at Sling, and we started to brainstorm what we can do. We want to build this out to be a video platform, and that's ultimately what we were going to buy an airplane for. But now we were really starting to think about building one of these. But which one? Obviously, we want 4 seats, and we want to maintain that as best as we can. If we can gain a ton of speed, we're okay with 2 seats. But after Oshkosh last year, we ended up doing several flights out in California in both airplanes, the Sling High Wing and the Sling TSi. And Chelsea and I put out a couple of videos flying both of those airplanes. We started by flying out to Catalina Island, got the quick and dirty demo on both airplanes. Kind of a funny story. Chelsea can tell it better, but I walked into it kind of leaning toward the TSi. Like, I've been flying a Cessna for 2,000 hours. I'm kind of ready for something sporty and low wing. And she was like, I don't know, the high wing's beautiful. It's got all this space, visibility, you know, that's what she was leaning towards. So we get to California, we fly both planes. I flew the TSi first, she flies the high wing. We land at Catalina Island, we switch, and we fly the opposite airplanes back. And when we got on the ground, she was like, oh man, that TSi, it's a great airplane. And I said, man, the visibility in the high wing is amazing. So we switched, and that's how we stayed for a little bit. And then as we were kind of muddling through the decision-making process, Matt actually reached out to us again and said there was a fly-in coming up in Vernon, British Columbia, as a Rotax fly-in at the Rotec facility there. And he offered an invitation for us to come up, you know, film the trip, let's make something fun out of it. And we said, well, this will be great. This will be a great opportunity for me to prove Chelsea wrong as to which airplane is better. Long story short, we get to Vernon, beautiful time, made an absolutely epic series about that that's on Aviation 101 now. And on our way back, this photo, I took this photo like probably 60 seconds after I had this moment come through my head of all the years that we've thought about the particular mission that we want. We want a faster airplane that's fuel efficient. We want extended range. We want to have an airplane that's really meant for traveling. Chelsea has a 1966 150. I have a 1976 172. The 172 is obviously a little better for traveling, but neither of them are tremendously fast, tremendously long range. And this moment right here, this is kind of, we're a little bit south of Lake Tahoe at this point, and I was in the airplane with Matthew Todden, and we're heading back south down to Torrance. We're on oxygen, we're up high, we're sipping fuel, we're screaming along. I think we were like 152 true or something like that. And I just had this moment that this is the airplane that I want us to fly. I want this to be our future in the next chapter of our general aviation story. And that was the moment it happened. From then on, it was the TSi. On the way home from that trip, Chelsea and I said, you know what? I said, I want to build a TSi. She said, me too. And we were off to the races. And after that, the deal was sealed. So why the Sling TSi? I just touched on a few of these. Fuel economy, long range. I won't make this a sales pitch because you all know the beautiful things about this airplane. Cross-country speeds, useful loads, service ceiling. It's experimental, which leads me to the next point of modern tech. It's unlocked innovation, and we can truly make this airplane ours and do what we want with this airplane to make it perfect for our mission. And the last and probably most important point to me is the BRS parachute, the ballistic recovery system. We want to fly IFR if we can. We want to be able to fly at night on our long cross countries. And the fact of the matter is, in certain situations, such as at night or over a cloud layer, if you lose your one and only power plant, you don't have anywhere to put it. You can't find a good landing spot at night. If you're going to land on a highway, you can't see those power lines. You can't see the terrain. You can't see the poles. That's the most important feature to me, and the fact that this airplane is designed with that in mind was one of the deal makers. So then came the question, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to go through the Build Assist program, or are we going to build this airplane at home? For context, we live down in Kentucky in a rural area. We have a big shop on our property. We have a lot of tools, but not all the necessary tooling. And Chelsea's an AMPIA. We felt like we could build this airplane at home. But there were a couple of reasons why we ultimately decided to gravitate toward the Build Assist program, and that was because at the airplane factory in Torrance, Sling Pilot Academy is right there. So that's going to allow us, while we're there building the airplane, we can go get transition training in that TSi right there and start building our experience with the airplane. Of course, that's going to help insurance when it's time to fly the airplane. At the Build Assist Center, we have no need for special tooling. They cover it all. And particularly in the first couple of weeks, we worked with a gentleman named Bill Cloud. He helped us with all the sheet metal construction, flaps, ailerons on the wings and everything. And I mean, he had all the tools lined up on the table, ready to go for us on the next step before we even finished the previous step. That gave us great peace of mind to build this airplane at a leisurely pace and knowing that it's being done right. Quick parts replacement. They made a great point when we were muddling through the decision of which one to do that. Hey, if something breaks or something's missing, maybe something wasn't manufactured correctly, most of the time at the Build Assist Center, they have one right there on the shelf. They can grab another one and get another one on order to replace it, and the project can ultimately keep moving. And last but not least, savvy guidance. Whatever questions we have, whatever customizations we want to make on the plane, we have our questions answered right then and there. Super, super helpful, and we've enjoyed our time in Torrance at the Build Assist Center. So now that we know we're building a Sling TSi, and now that we're halfway into the build process at this point with the build series on YouTube. What are some of the options and equipment we're going to put into this airplane? So we're doing a couple custom things, but we're also doing a lot of things that are pretty standard. So engine, prop, and fuel. Of course, we're putting the Rotax 916 IS, the Impossible engine, onto this airplane. So it's going to be 160 horsepower, turbocharged with an intercooler, just like this TSi right over here. We opted for the 3-blade hydraulic prop. Maybe I'm a little bit old school, but I like having that lever right there to be able to feel the governor, change the RPM with the hydraulic propeller. So we're going to have a manual governor control. We're opting for dual boost pumps, and those are going to be mounted in the wing roots, which are actually a product of Midwest Panel Builders over here. And we opted for that because of we want added protection against vapor lock, especially if we're going to choose to burn some unleaded fuel in this airplane. We want boost pumps that are closer to the fuel tanks, that can push the fuel through if needed, and we can use that boost override switch in the cockpit to push that fuel through if we have any issue like that. And a big selling point for me was the long range tanks. So we're gonna have plenty of fuel on this airplane to easily do, you know, upwards of 800 nautical miles with a 1 hour reserve and be able to really stretch this airplane to anywhere we need to go. Now, do we always want to stay in the airplane that whole time? Not really. But where that really comes in handy is if we're trying to get around weather, we're trying to top some weather, you know, winds don't pan out like you want to, and you just want to keep going for an extra 30, 45 minutes and finish out the flight. Big option that we wanted there. Avionics and electrical systems. Avionics are going to look very similar to what you see on this panel right here, and this is actually 915 Mike Whiskey, which is right behind you there. That is the Midwest Edition Sling TSi, which I actually had the pleasure of flying with Adam O'Connor back, I guess it was about 3 weeks ago now. And we filmed a video covering everything they've done on their Sling TSi, and got to take a look at their amazing process putting the wiring harnesses together there at their facility. And they are the very ones that are building our harness and panel for our Sling TSi. So we're going to have a very similar layout to what they have on the panel there. And we're going to have WAAS IFR navigator, VHF nav radio, dual comms, ADS-B in and out, of course, Sirius XM, and the GFC 500 autopilot. Relatively standard Sling TSi panel. And then we also opted for an auxiliary generator. That's going to be a 30 amp output. I believe it's made by Monkworks. And it's going to be belt driven on the back of the engine. So that's going to be a supplement to our electrical system so we can power all the goodies that we'll talk about here in a second. So this is where the customization started to come in our build. Like I said, we want to build this airplane out as a very user-friendly filming platform. I've gained a lot of experience over the years, over 15 years of making aviation YouTube videos. I know every way that an action camera can fail, every way that an action camera is going to make me mad and be tedious to deal with on a flight. Power on the cameras, storage in the cameras, and cooling over the cameras are the three things that will ensure that the camera is going to run the entire time. My philosophy with filming flights is set it and forget it. I start the cameras before I climb into the airplane, before the master switch comes on or anything, and they run the entire time until the engine's off and the master switch is disconnected. So I want that to be the case in this airplane, and I want it to be extremely user-friendly. So we're going to put USB-C Power Delivery 3.0 power supplies in the airplane. These particular power supplies are designed by a company called PowerWorks. We found that they have very low RFI, and I believe Midwest Panel Builders, y'all have installed some of those, right? So gotten some data across the industry and with some of the experts in the industry too, that these are good power supplies to use in an airplane. They have very high power output, and because they are PD 3.0, they're capable of up to 20 volt output. For those of you who are not familiar with PD technology, it allows the USB-C device, like a camera, to negotiate with the power source to tell it exactly how much power it needs based on how much it needs to charge. Or maybe it's recording at the same time as charging. It might demand more or less voltage depending on what it is. So we opted for those power supplies. We're going to have it switched on the bus so that we can climb into the airplane with all the cameras plugged in, flip the switch on, and the cameras will all be preset in their own settings. When they detect external power, they're going to turn on and start recording as soon as that switch goes on. And then when we're done with the flight, kill the switch. That tells all the cameras, stop recording, shut down. So we want to make it really, really user-friendly in that regard. In the top right corner here, that's a shot actually from a website that I bought a lot of the mounting hardware from. That's a very similar shot that we're going for with our external mounts. So on the wing mounts, we're installing poles. You've seen it on many airplanes out here. We're going to have a 360 camera on the end of a pole mount that comes out forward of the leading edge of the wing to achieve a shot like that. So we already put doubler plates in the wings. We alodined them and installed them inside of the wings. And those have dovetail mounts that are sandwiched in there with quarter 20 bolts. And then those dovetail mounts then go to the pole assembly that holds everything. You'll have to forgive me for taking this photo outside the wing. I don't want this to be confusing. I spent 30 minutes this morning scrubbing through videos to try and get a non-blurry shot of what it looked like inside the wing, and I couldn't find one. I was moving the camera too much. This is me holding the mount for the power supply outside of the wing on the skin. This is a 3D printed part. I whipped that up in CAD in like 15 minutes. We printed it while we were in Torrance with one of their 3D printers there. And this is basically going to be mounted to the inside of the wing skin with rivets. And that little pigtail is going to go from the PowerWorks power supply and loop through a weatherproof bulkhead USB-C connector that has a little weatherproof cap on it. So when we're not rolling cameras, we remove the poles, everything's very flush and low profile, and we cap off the USB. No water is going to get in there or anything. And then this is what it's supposed to look like inside the wing, but of course I'm holding it on the outside of the wing. So that ate up a full 2 days trying to figure out how we were going to do that to make sure everything was going to stay clear of control cables, the aileron bell cranks because it's in the same inspection panel. We wanted to go a little further out on the wings, but we ultimately opted for the last inspection panel that's the most outboard because my biggest consideration with all of this is make it serviceable. These power supplies might fail in 3 years. One of them might generate interference. We might have a wire break. I want to be able to get my arms in there to replace it easily without having to get super invasive and disassemble anything. So that's our camera mount and power supply setup. And after the talk's done, I'm happy to answer any questions on any of this stuff that you guys may have. Interior and ergonomics. If you want to see what our interior is going to look like, look at that TSi right there. We kept coming back to that color scheme. We went through all the different color options on the bolsters, the inserts, the walls and side panels, including the paint on the pillars and ceilings and everything. And we just kept coming back to 916 Tango Sierra right there. We loved the way that airplane looked. So that's ultimately what it's going to look like in the top right corner here. We're going to go with Toston Manufacturing on the grips, and that was actually a recommendation of Midwest Panel Builders. And after flying 915 Mike Whiskey right behind you, hands down, great decision. I'm super excited to have these grips. So those grips are going to have a lot of features on them. And in the video that I just posted on Aviation 101 a couple weeks ago with Midwest Panel Builders at their facility, we went through a bunch of features in this airplane right behind you guys right here. And one of those features that we spent a couple of minutes in the video describing was the grips. We're going to have push to talk, autopilot disconnect, trim up and down, elevator trim, comm swap, frequency swap, and flaps up and down, all on that grip, which is just going to be fantastic. Effectively, the goal that Adam was explaining to me is you can begin an instrument approach and take it all the way down to clearing the runway, including switching frequencies and everything, and never have to take your hand off the grip and throttle. So really excited about all of that. And then this is another shot of the interior when I was flying with Matt back in August. And that's kind of a good depiction of what the black interior looks like. And we had considerations with exposure stuff on camera too, like how's the black going to do with exposure out the windows and everything. And ultimately, we fell in love with the way that airplane looked. In terms of lighting, again, I'm showing off the Midwest Panel Builder airplane over here a bunch because we're doing a lot of things just like they're doing. Of course, they're working up the entire electrical system for our airplane, and we're doing that in lockstep with them. But one thing I really love about working with Midwest Panel Builders is things that I don't necessarily have an opinion on, or I'm not really sure what would be best. You can totally lean on these guys to be like, well, what would y'all do? Or if I have a suggestion of what I've thought I would like, they'll say, well, yeah, absolutely, we can do that, but here's what we have found works best and most customers like. And so much of that feedback, I've just like blindly leaned into it because like you guys know what y'all are doing. So in terms of lighting on the exterior, we're going with Wheel & Aerospace Technologies as well as Aero LED. As y'all know, they merged a while back. So we're using a combination of those two amazing companies' lights. And that's a list of just some of the lights, very common on these airplanes, of what we're going to have installed. And then on the interior, a little bit more fancy. We're going to have a backlit panel, which is exactly what's in 915 Mike Whiskey right behind you here. Can't really see it in the daytime, but that was a shot. After Adam and I got done flying, they said, okay, you got to see this. We got one more thing to show you. We've got to close the hangar door for it. I was like, what the heck are they talking about? Now I know. And that's exactly what we're doing on our panel. I had never seen it with my own eyes, but truly, truly a game changer to have all of your placards and everything illuminated like that at night. We're also going to have the backseat dome lights, LED dome lights, and LED floodlights on the ceiling, which are pretty standard in the TSi as well as the high wing. Lastly, the scheme design. What colors are we going with? We actually did finalize the scheme, the paint scheme, the day we left for Oshkosh. We were a little late on that, but that was probably the biggest argument between Chelsea and I, was colors. We went back and forth, and I chose one color, she chose another, we mutually chose one, and hopefully the screen can kind of depict what this is going to look like, but that is the color scheme that we're going to go with on the airplane. That's really close to the color scheme we have on our two Cessnas as well as the Aviation logo is kind of branded there. And then we'll put the scheme on YouTube and everything once we get a little bit closer and more in depth in the project. So lastly, I want to close with some build takeaways. You know, this is a process. It's a dream for so many people, and that's not lost on Chelsea and I. We have both had the dream to build an airplane, you know, long before either of us met, like 5 years ago, and ever since childhood, it's always been in our heads independently that we've wanted to build an airplane, and now we get to do this together. And we have a lot of things that we reflect on, and producing videos allows us to reflect on that in an extremely vivid fashion. I'm very grateful for that, and I want to talk about a couple of takeaways. First thing that we've learned is take your time. Building an airplane takes a lot of products, it takes a lot of people, and it takes a hell of a lot of patience. You're always going to run into things that are going to slow it down, or decisions that you're not quite sure what you want to do. Do your research, make sure that you're getting everything done exactly how you want to, and guess what? We're in aviation, you know, some of this stuff takes time too. So a lot of products, a lot of people, and a lot of patience. You want to shop and network. Talk to a bunch of other builders. Talk to builders in other aircraft families that are doing different things with their type of aircraft. You're going to learn so much in the build community and learn about different products that you've never heard of before that maybe aren't standard on this airplane, but they are standard in this make and model, and you may want to apply that to your airplane. Guess what? It's experimental. We can do that. So build your dream and make it perfect. Take your time to do that. Embrace the curveballs. There's going to be a lot of them. And what I kind of laughed when I wrote this because it's absolutely true. We're in aviation, so like, do I need to say more about that? There's curveballs everywhere we look, and everything always takes longer than we think. You know, you're always going to run into the little minutia that you didn't expect to take additional time. So embrace those curveballs. And lastly, Matt actually said this at the Sling dinner last year, and it stuck with me, it resonated with me, and it's repeated itself in my head for so long ever since then. You order a kit, but you're going to end up unboxing a family. And we've really found that to be true, not only with the Build family, the Build Center there in Torrance, the Build Center, we just got acquainted with Midwest Sky Sports, Midwest Panel Builders over here, and all of the awesome people in South Africa that are designing these planes, and the Build Center out there. We've really fallen in love with this family, and we truly have. We ordered a kit, and we uncreated a family, and we're really enjoying this process and the people in it, and we wouldn't have it any other way, and we're so grateful to now be a part of the Sling family. So yeah, just as a reminder, we've been making continuous YouTube content on Aviation 101 since 2010, and we're not stopping anytime soon. This build content's going to continue. We're maybe not quite halfway done. I hope I don't eat my words on that later, but I hope that we're at that point. You know, 90% done, 90% to go. That's how it goes. And we're going to continue putting out this build content, and once the build content's done, we're going to fly the wheel pants off this airplane and take it everywhere and showcase it in the best fashion we can to showcase these adventures. I appreciate y'all's time. I hope I did not ramble too much and or bore you guys with it. This is a great project that we are super excited to be a part of. We love being a part of the Sling family and just working with all of these wonderful people. And if you're going to build an airplane or purchase an airplane under Mosaic, which is very new and exciting, I highly suggest taking a close look at the Sling family. They're amazing, and we're very honored to be a part of it. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it, and stick around over the next few weeks. Make sure you have your notification bell turned on because we're going to continue posting things that we just didn't have time to at Oshkosh. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and we really appreciate you guys.